The memory locations where we store data while our programs run are called variables. Keep in mind that we're not talking about saving something on your computer so that it's there the next time you turn it on. This is just information our program needs and uses while it's executing, and it's gone once the program stops running. When I'm teaching in person, I tend to use a cup as my visual aid for a variable. A variable can hold one piece of information. So if I want to store someone's name, that's one variable. Storing their height would mean a second variable, and storing their age would be a third. Eventually we'll learn how to store groups of data, but for now it's one variable for each thing we need to keep track of. To create a variable in Python, we use a variable initialization statement, which has two parts, an identifier and a value. An identifier is the name we use to refer to a variable. Identifier is the proper term, but programmers tend to just call it the variable's name. Now, Python doesn't really care what name or identifier we give to a variable, as long as it follows a few rules. It has to start with a letter or an underscore. It can have numbers or digits, but not at the start, and it can't have any other symbols, including spaces. Oh, and for now, you can't use the same name or identifier twice. But there are some exceptions, so we don't count that as a rule for now. Those three rules are all Python cares about, but the humans who look at your code have some expectations about identifiers too. Different programming languages have different conventions. A convention is not really a rule, it's something people agree to do, like hitting skip if a Limp Bizkit song comes on. No! One Python convention is to name variables using a style called snake case, because we're not allowed to use spaces. A variable name should be all lowercase letters with an underscore before each new word. That underscore makes names with multiple words easier to read. You might have experience with a programming language that uses a different convention. For example, Java variable names are written in camel case, where all names start with lowercase letters, and then we use an uppercase letter to start each new word. That's a fine naming convention, but it's not what we're using here in Python. These naming conventions become a habit, and whatever you're used to will always look better, but you'll need to force yourself to use snake case in Python. Otherwise, all the other Python reindeer will laugh and call you names. And you'll also lose points on your assignment if you don't use snake case, which is probably more important. Naming conventions exist for a reason, and those conventions are expected in industry, so you'll need to follow them here too. In addition to using snake case, the other naming convention you need to follow is using descriptive identifiers. The name of a variable should describe what it contains or what purpose it serves in your code. Like labeling a box with a bunch of junk in it before you take it out to the garage and stick it on a shelf. Other people who come along need to be able to tell what's in there. Naming a variable email address is descriptive. Naming the variable e is not descriptive. When we look at code, we value the quality of readability. Is it easy for us to understand what the code does? Most coding conventions are ultimately about improving readability. Using single letter identifiers, for example, or abbreviating words too much, can make code confusing to understand. In addition to an identifier, the other thing we need to do to initialize a variable is give it a value. A value is placed in a variable with what we call an assignment statement, which uses the equal symbol. And I'm saying that carefully because we can use equal signs in combination with other things for something else eventually. But forever and ever, when you see a single equal sign in Python, that's an assignment statement. And the job of an assignment statement is to put a value into a variable. If a variable is already initialized and we execute another assignment statement, the new value replaces the previous value. Remember, a variable can only hold one piece of information at a time. If we have something in our cup and we want to put something different in it, we first have to dump it out. It's important to understand that there are different types of data in computer programming. For example, we might want to work with numbers so we can do arithmetic with those values. Or we might want to store a student's name. Those are two different types of data. One is numeric and the other is a string. These are two fundamentally different types of data. One's numeric and the other is a bunch of text. Python figures out the correct data type automatically. We don't have to specify that in Python like we do in many other programming languages. But it's still important to know what the basic data types are. There are a handful of them, but for the time being, we only need to worry about 3. Int, which is a whole number, like someone's age. Float, which is a number that includes a decimal value, like someone's GPA. And str, or string, which is text, including symbols and some other things we can't really type or see. An example of that would be someone's name. We'll learn about the importance of data types as we go. For now, we just need to know that Python examines the value and determines which data type to use. Basically, variables give us a way to store and use data. Initializing a variable with a value creates our container of a certain data type, and additional assignment statements let us change what's stored in there. Now that we can create variables, we can start looking at things we can actually do with them.